G'day, I'm Ray Tomes from New Zealand. I want to talk to you today about monetary madness. Economists have had governments for some years attempting to control economies by monetary policy. Perhaps the best way I can describe this is to say you can't fly a helicopter with only an accelerator, and this is what they're trying to do. They're using one thing, monetary policy, changing interest rates to try and control how much on the boil the economy is, and they're trying to control an economy that has many dimensions to it. Mathematically or scientifically, we can say it just isn't possible to control something that has multiple dimensions with a parameter that can only vary one dimension. So it's not possible. What they're doing inevitably must come unstuck from time to time. So if we want to control a helicopter, we need more than an accelerator and a brake. We need something that can make it turn left and right, something that can make it tilt forwards and backwards, something that can make it spin around, point in different directions. So these things are the bare minimum to fly a helicopter. We need 3 or 4 controls at least. The economy we can clearly be demonstrated to have be a much richer system than a helicopter. It has multiple components to it which act independently at times. There may be some larger components, and monetary policy may be addressing one of the largest components, but there are other components that are quite different. Just to give some examples of those, there would be one major component. I'm more familiar with the New Zealand economy, but there are other economies will have similar things to this. One of the larger components here consists of 3 things that are closely related. One is the exchange rate, which is closely linked to migration in and out of the country, and to housing. Why are these 3 things linked? Well, if you have more people coming into the country and few leaving, then there's much more demand on housing, and the movement of these people affects the amount of funds moving one way or the other in or out of the country. So these things are naturally related, and in fact in New Zealand we find there's about an 8-year cycle in these things. They all tend to move together in an 8-year cycle. We've just travelled through a low in the New Zealand dollar and a low in housing demand, and a low in immigration, and now all on the increase again. That's just one component of our economy. We can look at other things which the monetary policy affects, and there's a much shorter cycle in that. It's 3 or 4 years long, and that the monetary policy causes oscillations in that. But there are other components as well. We have the various different export sectors which show different oscillations again, and there are other components. So if we want to have a stable economy, we must actually address the oscillations in all of these different components, and the objective of a stable economy is a good one. It may never be fully realizable, but taking some of the worst extremes off is certainly something that's useful. And to do that, we must have as many different implements that we use to control the economy, or to have effects on these things, as there are different fluctuations. And that would mean having 3, 4, 5, 6 different things rather than one of monetary policy. At the very least, in the New Zealand economy, a second one would be something that affects the rate of migration. Now, we can't say to people you can't leave the country or you can't come back, but we could say that we won't accept new permanent immigrants to the country when we've already got an excess flowing in due to other things. So we could control that, and quite a small difference in the number of people coming into the country at those times, knocking the peaks off that, and getting those people, telling those people you can come in a few years' time when there's a trough if you want. That will have a huge effect in flattening out the peaks in the demand for housing. Now, the demand for housing is one of the things which has the greatest fluctuations in the economy. At times, the number of new houses being built is 2 or 3 times what it is at other times. And this flows on to many other areas of the economy as well. So this is something that could be done in addition to the normal interest rate monetary policy. There are other ways that could be done as well, and the idea here is not to try and put all of those forward, but simply to say that from a logical and mathematical and scientific point of view, you cannot fly a helicopter with just an accelerator and brake. You need more controls, and the economy is as complicated as a helicopter, if not more, and we need multiple controls in order to manage the economy to have stability.